Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello from Chihuahua, Mexico. We are real excited about getting a chance to broadcast from here. Gracias a todos mis amigos mexicanos y welcome to everyone else around the world. I want to make sure that we have a really special program today because of the work that we're talking about. I want to give you a little bit of a background about Chihuahua and some stuff that we have, like as we always do. We'll have some of our official, background slides and things like that. But we're here to have a conversation. We're going to hear from our guests, are the Secretary of Economy of the state of Chihuahua, the Undersecretary of Economy in charge of innovation, and the Undersecretary of Economy in charge of industry. And so, but before we do that, we'll do some of the official stuff really quick to kind of get it going. First off, welcome to live from Chihuahua, and I'm excited to have you here. As you know, the Venture Outfitter, the whole program about this is a program for supporting entrepreneurs that are building bridges around the world to solve all the world's problems. And I sometimes, I know people think I'm joking about that, but when you see what different places in the world have to offer different people and how, one set of people in one part of the world have solved the problem for another place in the world. This really does work. And so I'm excited about taking this opportunity today. Thank you to our studio sponsor. Our studio sponsor is DuoWorks back in Austin, Texas. If you're looking for a co-working place that has a lot of control and where you can, if you need something from outside of the country and you need like a very specific need around what's there, they really have a special set of opportunities for you. And if you're interested, go to techbranch.com/DuoWorks and they'll tell you more. If you establish that you heard about this through TechBranch, you'll get a special deal. So please do join us there. If you're not in the community site already, I've mentioned this about 1,000 times already, I'm sure, but I want to make sure that you can join our community. You can join our community for free. Go to techbranch.com/connect or use that URL and you'll have access to the community. And for those that are involved with the Chihuahua project, I'll go ahead and mention it. Make sure that you find the Chihuahua channel that is listed under the Venture Outfitter area. Please do use that area because we want to make sure that because we're going to have some special activities happen as we're exploring this bridge together, this venture bridge. We want to make sure we do so. And next week, just to announce what's happening next week, we're going to hear from some other entrepreneurs from Chihuahua. We're going to hear, in fact, one of our guests today, Carlos Fernando, is from Chihuahua. We're going to hear from him next week. And so there are a few other entrepreneurs from Chihuahua as well that I've met over the last couple of days that are going to be joining us next week that will be able to dig in a little bit more about what's happening. Okay, in all seriousness, part of what we need to pay attention to as entrepreneurs is the disruptions that are creating opportunity. There are a lot of different disruptions that are happening, and part of what we need to remember is this is the opportunity for entrepreneurs. There's been a significant downturn in the economy, at least in the United States, and part of what's driving that are these disruptions. The disruptions also present opportunities. Stuff like GM announcing, and a lot of different companies announcing, we're getting out of the gas car business. Then there's technologies like AI. Everyone, I've been talking about AI for years now, but everyone now sees with ChatGPT, they can imagine when there are jobs that are going to fall away, and there's jobs that are going to be created. There's these difficulties that are happening with the supply chain with regards to China, and that doesn't look like it's going to go away anytime soon. And so we should take advantage of that. Then there's the President Biden and then President Trump before have both been saying, let's bring back manufacturing to North America, back to especially the countries of Canada, United States, and Mexico. And so part of what's happening is we should take advantage of that. I'm going to speak a lot about this one during this talk today. And then there's final unique opportunity between Texas and Mexico. Not a lot of people know that Texas's #1 trading partner is Mexico, and Mexico's #1 trading partner is Texas. And because of that, we should take advantage of that. Now, in my case, I've been bullish on Mexico for many years. This is me back in Guadalajara, Mexico, working at my first client, which was a bank in Guadalajara in 1994. So almost 30 years of doing business as an entrepreneur in Mexico on both sides of the border. And then my first experience in doing business in Mexico was in 91. So a lot of time on getting a chance to do that. And I say that there's some important things, important inflection points during these disruptions we're pointing to that are important to look at. So today is about being live from Chihuahua. Now, a lot of people wonder, in fact, as I got off the plane, they're like, oh, this is your first time in Chihuahua. And I'm actually saying, no, it's not. The first speech I gave in Chihuahua was actually 2006. And when I was here, I bought some of the most beautiful pottery that the world has from a member of the cicada family, which is a family that has made world-class pottery way back. It speaks to the craftsmanship that you find in the state. The second thing is in 2019, there's another type of drink it's called sotol. It's like tequila, but it's different. And here in Chihuahua, they're really serious about their sotol. You can see that's a rattlesnake in the back of that picture on the right, where they said, are you a manly Texan or are you kind of wimpy? And they said, are you going to drink the sotol that has the rattlesnake in it? And I said, claro que sí, which means clearly I am going to, because, Texans and Chihuahuans are both tough. So, but the main point about this is actually my sixth time in the state of Chihuahua, third time in the city of Chihuahua. And so real excited about being here because there's this interesting idea about the land of opportunity that Chihuahua represents. And part of the thing that we're going to speak about in the panel that we have today is getting it deeper into this idea of what's happening, the land of opportunity of Chihuahua. A lot of times people have no idea about what's going on in Chihuahua. And I'm going to actually say that Chihuahua, whether or not you knew it or not, is already affecting your life. And I've got a couple of interesting stories I want to tell you about this. First off, just some facts and figures, higher education, foreign direct investment. We're going to have some of the experts actually tell us some of these numbers more in depth, but bring the numbers alive. I could present it to you, but the truth is that part of what we really want to do is dig in and understand the facts and figures and stuff like that. And then the number of companies that are here that are top tier players in the world are pretty impressive. This is a short list. This is not a complete list. One of the things that's interesting as well about Ford is I was told last night that the most productive plant in the world for Ford is here in Chihuahua, right? And so it's like those type of concepts. Okay, how is it that Ford's workers here are beating out productivity-wise everyone else in the world? We're going to hear a little bit about that. I want to know more about it. The other thing that's interesting about it is one of the other stories that I thought was really interesting to hear about, because you never think about this. Like I said, Chihuahua is part of your life. You might not know about it. When the United flight landed in the Hudson River, this is a few years ago that the engines went out and the flight landed. The bags that were deployed, the slides that were deployed that then saved the lives of the passengers, those are made here in Chihuahua. And so I've been told that, those type of slides get deployed maybe once a week, where there's like some kind of security issue about once a week in the world. And so, but, one of the things that really brings it home about what we might not suspect about Chihuahua, because Chihuahuans don't crow about this enough, is this idea that and I'm here to actually to pull out those type of stories. I had no idea about that, and I heard about it last night, and I think this is one of the brilliant things that we should know about Chihuahua. So part of the thing too is there's going to be a lot of opportunities to invest in Chihuahua. Part of the role that is Tech Ranch explores this relationship with the state and with the Secretary of Economy and others is we want to explore, as you've seen us do before, as entrepreneurs do, to make this place more accessible to you out there, as well as to make the world more accessible to Chihuahua. Part of the idea is we're exploring building a venture bridge between the locations. And what is a venture bridge? A venture bridge has a firm base on both sides. It allows people to go back and forth, whether they're students, fellows, scientists, industrialists, whatever it might be, certainly entrepreneurs. And we'll talk a little bit about that. I have a handful of questions that I'm going to ask our panel, but then as you have questions too, I want to make sure that you say them. Now, it'll be a little bit harder because of my setup today, since I'm not in the studio. I will do my best to gather your questions, and Jello in our back office is going to do the same. But as you have questions, get ready to answer them. We won't necessarily take any live questions. I'd like to have you type them in first, and then at the appropriate time, I'll say raise your digital hand so that we know that you're interested in asking a question live, and we can actually make time for that as well. Okay, well, with that, all of that being said, part of what I want to do is introduce Secretary of Innovation and Economic Development, María Angélica Granados. She is she told me that I'm supposed to call her Monkey, and so this is her nickname that everyone in the state knows her by. And so welcome. She's got if you want to see her full resume, it's quite impressive. She's been with several different parts of the Mexican government, as well as as a consul, in pro-Mexico in several different groups. Master's degree in Latin American Studies at Georgetown, Washington, Georgetown, sorry. I knew that I had it down and all that sort of stuff, so thank you for being here. And then to her right, we have Ulises Fernández, who's the Undersecretary of Innovation, Competitiveness and Business Development, and Fernando Alba, the Undersecretary of Mining, Industry and Energy for the Secretary of Innovation and Economic Development. The group that we're presenting today is called the Secretary of Innovation and Economic Development. They say CBE. And we're going to hear from them as we go through this. I will set this up so we can actually see more of you guys and listen in and stuff. And thank you very much. Hopefully we'll do our best to interact with the studio audience, and also the people that are watching this stream on LinkedIn, things like that. But LinkedIn and Facebook. But first off, let me just ask, tell us about Chihuahua. What makes the state special and things like that? Tell us a little bit more about Chihuahua. First off, thank you for your hospitality, and thank you for everyone that supported this. But thank you, Monkey. I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you here and to be here with your audience. It's very exciting. I was thinking about first of all the similarities that we have with Austin, because you might not know a lot about Chihuahua, but you were talking about tough men drinking sotol. And beginning with that, starting with that, we have a lot of similarities, and Chihuahua is huge in its people, in its human capital. It's huge in the manufacturing industry. But I'm going to tell you just one thing that we always ask the corporate people when they come and visit their plants from abroad, from Europe, from the US, from Japan, from Asia. We ask them, why Chihuahua? Why are you here? Why are you growing your operations here? And the first thing they say, it's people. So I think that's an asset. I think that's a strength that we have.
Yeah, well, the being here, one of the things I was saying to some of my friends back in Austin is that if you cross the street in Mexico City, you have to be very careful because the cars are going back and forth. Whereas if you cross the street here in Chihuahua, people are they're relaxed. It's very inviting. They take care of each other. You can walk across without having to, even in Austin, you walk across the street and you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's traumatic. But yeah, it seems like that there is something about the people here that really are happy. And I've heard that they're very loyal to the work that they do, and they're very serious about it. Right? It's quite interesting.
If you allow me just to mention a little bit on that. Just yesterday, we had a meeting, a dinner with a group of French investors, and basically they were saying the same thing about that. Say what is going on with Chihuahua? I mean, the people, they look so great. It's just so accessible. They have a big drive. They are so productive. they are so committed to work.
Mm.
And it's very interesting also because during the morning we had a lunch in Ciudad Juarez with a group of Taiwanese investors. They were saying exactly the same. I mean, what drives the state is people and the commitment to work and the commitment to do good things. And really, I guess that's what makes a difference to other parts of Mexico. I totally agree with Secretary saying.
One of the interesting things about that is in the presentation yesterday, one of the incentives that the government has is investment in people. So it doesn't just, it's not just already there. You guys are actually doubling down on it by supporting companies by saying, hey, if you're training your people, we'll go even farther, right? Say a little bit more about that too, like the type of incentives. I mean, not just generally, but specifically in talent development. That seems like that's a really important thing here.
Yeah, we know there's a huge challenge worldwide nowadays with human capital, with talent availability for precisely the new jobs or even any kind of job, especially after the pandemic, after this a terrible pandemic. And what we are doing, and this is something that we have to make it clear about Chihuahua too, is a collaboration and the alliance between the private sector, the government, and the academies and civil society. We have a great collaboration. So what we are doing with respect to talent development is that we are communicating and asking the companies what kind of abilities, capabilities you need in order for you to come and establish in Chihuahua. So we incentivize that. We have subsidies for training, for certification. So if you need X, Y, and Z type of a training for a line of production within your operation, we incentivize that by providing the experts, providing the spaces. The Ministry of Economy has an area that is called Senaltec, or INADET, is for high technology training. So we pay, and centers, so we pay for a certain amount of the training.
We, for example, we subsidize 70% of the cost of the training.
Wow,
So
70% of the cost.
That we have 4 centers all over the state. And are coming more, maybe 2 more in the state. Also, another important thing is we create in this administration a liaison department in order to be more effective with the interaction with the industry. So in that, the idea is not only be actively developing the talent that the industry needs, but focus on how that productive ability that we have, we can move it forward to other activity that is more value and complex. And also we are working with the companies and the universities to develop that skills and the training programs that we will require in order to be more competitive and sustainable over the time.
I think that's a really important point about the 2 things I want to make sure I emphasize that I've seen. And since I get to see a lot of places, I'm like, I know that this is really distinct. The alignment between, industry, governments, and, even the entrepreneurs all the way up, the alignment where there seems like there really is alignment among all these different parties. Not my hometown back in Austin, Texas, but the government really never got involved in it. So it almost makes me jealous in a way to actually see the alignment where there's like these open doors that really make it possible to work together and stuff like that. That first thing is quite interesting. And then in the innovation space, about what you're saying is, okay, this is the capability. Someone told me yesterday that there was a company, as an example, that was making jeans. And, they got outbid, Levi's outbid them, and then that work went to Thailand. And that company, as well as, I think I hear this in what you're saying, Ulises, as well, is instead of just focusing there on the race to the bottom of, skills that might disappear, to invest in the skills that are coming, right? And so that company now does the highest end type of sewing, which is airline seats, and they own more than 20% of the world's airline seat design, which it's still, it's like, there's lots of different skills. I'm using one that's not necessarily, really high tech, but really complex.
Yeah, for example, just for an example, some years ago, we conducted a major initiative in the state as smart specialization strategies. The idea is take advantage of the productive capability that we have and also the innovation regional ecosystem. So for example, in the case of Chihuahua, we have major industry coming automotive and aerospace. And also we have major centers for research and development and also tasting. So when we are mixing all that assets, for example, that identifies a major opportunity to specialize our economy, for example, electromobility or back-end processes, semiconductors first. So we need to focus on that needs about, for example, how to boost our entrepreneur's ecosystem and also have to develop the skills and the talent that we will need for that transition and that disruption of our traditional industries.
Yeah, that reminds me, like some of the different areas, semiconductor, aerospace, electromobility, and especially electromobility being the switch from gas vehicles over to electric ones. Medical devices, I had no idea that Chihuahua produced so many medical devices, renewable energy, and then circular economy, right? Those are the different areas that there's a strong commitment to. Could you dig in a little bit more on any one of those areas and tell us more about what's happening? I mean, I know that some of the information might not be able to be public yet, but you have a lot of really interesting things that are happening here in each one of those categories. Anything that you can share?
For example, electromobility. I'll let Fernando jump in now, but for example, in electromobility, it's not just saying that we have that potential, but we actually we partnered with Michigan University, with William Davidson Institute, to really make an analysis of what we have and what we can do, because it's about potential, but it's about what you have right now. And we have a very clear map or roadmap to the investors, to the local businessmen, so they can know where the opportunity is for them. So that's been very useful, because we can't give expectations if you don't really have the talent, if you don't have the supply chain, if you don't have the infrastructure that you need, no? So, but I'm gonna let Fernando jump in with this issue, or with
Thank you.
any other information.
I mean, all of us are, let's say, very well aware of the things that we are doing in electromobility specifically. But something that is very interesting that is happening right now is that, I mean, Austin is the epicenter of electromobility in the US, having Tesla there.
Yes.
And what is happening right now is that a lot of companies coming from all over the world, Taiwan or Europe or even the US, are settling here in Chihuahua because they are 8 hours away from Austin.
Right.
Right now, let's say with the supply chain, everything on time, right now the processes are so, let's say, so tight and so well cared that when a part is produced here in Ciudad Juárez or Chihuahua, at what time need to be in the warehouse in Tesla.
Yeah.
Right. So for us, being here with you today is great. And having this relationship with Austin and with you is great, because as a state, what we are seeing is that Austin is being, let's say, the key driver on the future, let's say, not just in electromobility, but in some other areas like semiconductors or TI or some other software. I mean, you have a huge ecosystem.
Wait, and part of that idea, so I gave a keynote speech last night, and I'll give you a little bit of context for the people that are watching. Part of the thing, so I'm one of the Austin ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem founders, right? Or the language we use in local Austin parlance would be, I'm one of the original gangsters of building that. I've been building the Austin entrepreneurial ecosystem for almost 30 years now. The thing that we recognized was we never could get the density of Silicon Valley. We couldn't get the density of Silicon Valley. I worked for Steve Jobs early in my career. I wanted to, I liked being in Silicon Valley for some of the things there, but I really missed the culture of Austin. And so part of what we did was come up with a way of how do we build connective tissue? And I think the connective tissue is what created Austin. And for the rest of everyone out there that, you know, is like, says, hey, what's this idea about Tech Ranch and, you know, and the state of Chihuahua and the other places, you know, that, you know, I was in Lithuania 4 weeks ago. And what's the idea here? Part of the idea is we can use this idea of building connective tissue like we did in Austin, but take it to scale, right? Take it to scale where we're able to really, for those that know me, you know, part of my commitment is how do we solve all the world's problems? You know, it's like, okay, that's an audacious task, but entrepreneurs are doing it, right? Entrepreneurs, whether they're at these larger organizations or the startups are actually doing it. And so part of the idea is to surface these capabilities like Fernando's doing in the electromobility space.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just to add a little bit more on that. Right now, a lot of the Tesla suppliers, as I said before, are located here in the state. So I guess the economies are so well integrated between Texas and Chihuahua, or better say between Austin and Chihuahua, that it makes a lot of sense to, let's say, explore further opportunities that could come out of this relationship. Let's say every week we receive, as I was saying before, starting with the meeting today, we're receiving investors from all over the world just coming here to explore this great capability.
Yeah.
So someone told me yesterday from Taiwan, he told me, "Did you realize that there is not any other place in the world that has this dual opportunity being in the center between Phoenix and Austin?" Everything is happening around the world is happening in these two cities, either Intel or TSMC in Phoenix, or being I don't know.
Well, with
Samsung's
Tesla
or
$22 billion.
Apple,
Yeah.
so many companies there. So we are basically in the middle. So I guess, I mean, this is the right step for us. I mean, trying to explore these capabilities, but not just, let's say, on the industrial sector or maybe a foreign direct investment, as you and I have talked before, but also to expand, let's say, to expand the opportunities to startups, to exchange students, to the technical and engineering capabilities that we could develop here, using Texas as a base, let's say. So there are quite a lot of opportunities, and once again, I guess this is the right step for us to do it, and I'm pretty sure that eventually we are not, let's say, we are not foreseeing what will happen. So many things, so many opportunities that we could explore in the very near future.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but
No,
what is happening now is that we're making it formal. We're kind of shaping the relationship, because historically the relationship has been organic and has been going on because we live by each other, no? Chihuahua with Texas, with New Mexico, even with California, and it's very natural. It's a region. We work as a region, and when we go outside and promote Chihuahua, we promote the region. We promote the closeness to Texas. We promote the logistics. We promote the universities in Texas, in New Mexico, and so on and so forth. So what we're doing right now, and when I said we are doing, like Tech Ranch is doing together with us, and what we're cooking there, it's kind of making it formal and making it more clear, more exposing it more to the world.
Yeah, and through doing that, right, there's this opportunity of lowering the cost associated with even finding each other, right? A lot of our role as Tech Ranch is we say we discover talent, develop talent, connect talent to opportunity, and help it scale, right? Those four verbs. The thing that I think a lot of times when people kind of really start to wonder about why we're doing these kind of interviews and things like that is to really say that discovery process is kind of the hardest thing, especially for the future of innovation, right? That idea of like about plugging in and recognizing, because a lot of it is we didn't know this about Chihuahua.
And actually, an important thing there is not only we're boosting our manufacturing core downstream the value chain that already are in the state, but also, for example, we have a lot of cluster all over the state. So we're currently working in initiatives, cross-sectoral initiatives for innovative processes. For example, when you're thinking about exponential technologies that are facing the different industries, that is a common area to participate for that and discover and explore new opportunities and new businesses. For example, working electronic cluster with the AG industry, for example, for AG precision opportunity, for example. So
Yeah, I know it's
the cross-sectoral opportunity because of the direction and the immersion of new technology, also our focus to be more innovative, to exploring, and then we can develop and produce processes, services, and
The
so on.
agribusiness with technology, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Well, part of that is those cross products. That's where the innovation happens.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know the wine industry was so strong here. Yesterday, we had lunch at a winery. It was like amazing experience. It was like, it's the sort of place, you know, of going to very relaxed, very wonderful meal, really great wines. And I didn't know anything about that. So there's emerging areas. In the city, it's close to the city. It was really quite interesting. And then the opportunities between, like you're saying, the agribusiness and this leisure activity that might happen around that, but also, you know, tying back into technology and things like that as well.
That's right.
Well, so I want to ask you a question. Part of this is the discovery of Chihuahua, but then more generally, a lot of times, I was talking to one of our Japanese entrepreneurs. I was talking about Mexico. And, you know, a lot of times there's still, since I've been doing business in Mexico for 30 years, I know, you know, I understand Mexico. I understand some part of the soul of Mexico and what, I've had business that I've outsourced to Mexico for, you know, most of the time. Talk about a little bit more about Mexico in general, if you don't mind, like, because as the shift happens, right, as the shift that's been triggered by what President Trump and President Biden have said in the United States, away from China and, you know, towards Mexico, there's obviously something big happening. But I don't think most people actually even understand it. I know we're talking about Chihuahua and we're here in Chihuahua, but could you talk a little bit more about the bigger opportunity across the whole country? Because I think that I don't think that everyone sees it yet. Is anything you'd like to say about that?
Well, I guess
I'm putting them on the spot.
no, it's okay. I mean,
Okay.
this is a very interesting question because right now we are, let's say, at the crossroads of several things that are happening just around the world and specifically in the US. Here in the US, what we are seeing, as you mentioned before, we are seeing the Infrastructure Act, the CHIPS Act, and the Inflation Act. Those three are moving, especially in the manufacturing side, are moving forward a lot of industries, semiconductors, electromobility, batteries, and different areas, right? So what is basically right now, the challenges that we are facing, which I guess we need to be, how to say, delicate in the sense that we want to receive foreign direct investment from all over the world, right? We are seeing that there is, I would say, a commercial conflict between China and the US. What we hear from our investors or customers is that they want to move back some of their supply chain capabilities here to Mexico because of the closeness. What we are seeing from people from Taiwan is they want to move back also some of the processes here. And this is, I mean, the things that are happening right now in the US are not happening in Europe right now. So basically, the US is alone in this kind of incentives to promote, let's say, manufacturing or innovation or this area. So what is happening right now is that everyone is trying to move their supply chain, their products, in order to be part of the greatest commercial, let's say, area around the world, which is Canada, Mexico, and the US.
Yes.
So the theme must give us a great opportunities because right now, let's say, talking about electric manufacturing cars or OEMs or car manufacturing facilities, let's say, if a company comes from Europe or from everywhere in the world and they establish here, they will have or receive the same incentives as if they are, let's say, putting the plant in the US or Canada, right? Which is a great benefit for us, right? Let's say, for example, on semiconductors is more related to the US. However, there are processes in the supply chain on the semiconductors that you and I have talked about at length, right? That we see opportunities on this supply chain, let's say, talking about semiconductors on which we could participate. As a matter of fact, we are working on this kind of analysis of the ecosystem, the semiconductor ecosystem in Austin. And so I could go, let's say, I could be talking industry by industry, but I guess the main message from us is that from me, it's an industrial revolution that only happens every 100 years.
Yeah.
Right? And we are in the middle of it. And for some reason, not for some reason, but let's say that our state is the largest employer of, or better said, it has the largest number of manufacturing employees in the whole country. Around 440,000 people working directly on manufacturing. We have the largest automotive cluster in the whole country. We are the largest exporter in Mexico, 77 billion per year.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is happening is that in a sense, we are a unique state because we have, let's say, the foundation to grow in these different areas.
Which especially as manufacturing in China is displaced, it's very natural that it's happening here. Right?
Actually, I believe, and just let me add, as already mentioned, Fernando, that it also a very unique opportunity to develop ecosystem in our country. It's not only about attracting plants on one operation. It's about developing local suppliers, local businesses, in order that these businesses integrate better in that value chain. For example, we know that we already, for example, the NAFTA, but in the first version, was a great opportunity to develop our industrial base in Mexico. But we didn't develop the ecosystem for local companies and local businesses integrate in those more complex and value processes all along the value chain. So I believe this is a major opportunity, not only to attract this new massive investment to the country, but effectively integrated to those value chains.
Exactly. Well, so that ends up being part of what we're really looking at is like there's this, as the ship happens, instead of having to wait for a product on a container ship that goes across the Pacific Ocean that takes however long it takes, or during COVID times got stopped. It's in the plants that you're pointing to, and then building out the supply chain here. Yeah, you can drive a truck to Austin and within 8 hours have it there, like you were pointing out earlier, right? So it's really interesting to see the timing and stuff like that about what's possible. As Fernando was mentioning about disruptions, disruptions are actually presenting this opportunity. The 3 acts, which it sounds like you're a better expert at than I am, that are happening in the United States, about the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Act, Infrastructure Act, Inflation Reduction Act. Those 3 plus the disruptions that are happening are creating this really interesting opportunity. Yes. What else do we go ahead?
No, I think you have to take into consideration also, because you were asking about the rest of the country. So we're talking about Chihuahua, but what about the rest? Are we conscious about what is going on with this nearshoring? Of course, in the center of the country or in the southeast of the country, they don't understand, and the majority of the people maybe don't, because they care about the health system, security, and some other issues. And we have to think about the involvement of the society with the government.
Well, that's where, you guys are in this leadership position, right? That you're in this leadership position because of the sheer number of jobs. And it's really clear, the manufacturing jobs. And it's really clear that as those get displaced from China to Mexico, I mean, we could take all of Mexico and still not have enough, right? It's like that's why, but you're right. It is going to have to
happen. That needs to happen because we have some, and we have to say it here, we have some challenges with our federal government and some initiatives going through Congress that are not precisely good for what we are talking.
Yeah.
So we have to act locally, everywhere in the country, in each of the from bottom up. Now we have to act locally, and we have to make public policy ourselves and adjusting to our needs. For example, talking about energy issues, because it's one of the first things that investors come saying, do you have enough electricity?
Right.
Do you have enough infrastructure? Do you have enough water? And so on. So in the state of Chihuahua, we the governor created a state energy agency, energy development agency for the state, okay? Because we have to do our own thing. If the federal government is not doing it, we're not fighting with them, but we're completing what they're doing, and we're trying to satisfy the needs of our people.
But in that, taking the leadership position to say, hey, yes, we can, this is how, and we had to do the same thing in Austin, right? It's like, I mean, as entrepreneurs, we had to do the same thing, and this is 20 years ago, where people were like, Austin's not that, I mean, there were lots of people who said 20 years ago, you're never going to start a startup in Austin. I mean, it was like a terrible thing, that there was so much negative pressure, but part of what we did was we did it, and then people started believing that it was possible, right? I see y'all doing that.
And you build it together.
And when I see you doing it and taking a leadership position for the country, as that, and that's partially what we want to tell the story around, about how Chihuahua is, here's an example where this does work, right?
Yes.
You can take on you can create the productive value-added jobs, you can actually drive the other, people here are happy in a way that maybe doesn't happen, in other parts of the United States and other parts of Mexico, right? There are people here are happy in a way that you just don't see in a lot of other places.
Yeah. So I mean, we were talking about numbers and trends and nurturing and inflation act and things like that, but something that we really have to, let's say, to underscore is that we really, we want to provide economic growth to the state, but also with quality of life to the people of Chihuahua. And we could talk for hours on this matter, but what I would like to say, and Ulises and the secretary have obviously can complement on this, but what we are working, especially from the industry side, is that since our resources are limited, let's say talking about talent, right? We need to be, let's say, especially careful on what kind of companies we're trying to bring into our state. Right now, we are seeing a migration from a low-cost productive country, right, to a more, let's say, talent-oriented country or state, right? We are seeing a big shift in the mix of what is required right now in the manufacturing facilities, which in the past, as I was talking yesterday, the same. In the past, we will see 70% of people working on the manual labor, right? And just 30% on engineering or R&D.
More labor intensive, no?
And more labor intensive and let's say, and more cost oriented. However, right now, we are seeing the opposite. 70% is engineering and technicians,
right?
And just 30% is manual labor. And that's what, and the effect of that is that we are seeing an improvement on salaries. And right now we are seeing engineers just coming out of their, or finalizing their technical school or engineering schools, and they are already hired by the companies on which they are working on.
Yeah.
And they have a better quality of life than what we could be offering in Chihuahua 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, I appreciate that strong focus again.
Yes,
about that.
this is for us something that we deeply care about on every business decision that we make.
Yeah.
And obviously, innovation and student capabilities and technical schools are deeply related to the quality of life.
Yeah.
So this is our commitment, let's say, from at least from my industry standpoint, which obviously is shared by the secretary and by the government as a whole, right? But this is an area of focus. I just wanted to mention, not just give you, let's say, the cold numbers of investment and jobs and things like that, but let's say trying to transmit to the people that is looking at us that we are also as committed to provide quality of people
I appreciate the quality of life focus is so very important. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to live in Austin was very much that, not just access to business, but access to good quality of life. And so, yeah, that speaks to my value system as well. Let me ask. We have a few more minutes, and I have a handful of different people that we might even call upon really quick. I mentioned to one of our entrepreneurs who's based out of who's from here, Chihuahua. If anyone would like to, if you'd like to ask a question, you could raise your digital hand. Please raise your digital hand versus coming off of mute. I'd like to make sure we have time for maybe a couple of questions and maybe a couple of different entrepreneurs to hop in and ask directly or give an update. Carlos, if you're interested, please feel free to come online too, because I'd love to. Carlos, from your standpoint, Carlos Fernando, from your standpoint of being an entrepreneur from Chihuahua, what's your point of view? Tell us about a little bit about what's your background and stuff like that. Oh, I'm not sure I can hear you, by the way. I tell you what, Carlos.
Yeah.
Okay, there you are. Go right ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, you know, Kevin, like I've been in and out of Chihuahua, my state, for like the past 15 years. And I really believe that there's a huge capability of combining what Chihuahua knows how to do and what is happening outside. Like right now I'm in Houston, but I know well the ecosystem in Austin. So I know there are a lot of opportunities of cooperation between the ability of building products. I'm in the medical industry. I created a couple of devices that measure different metabolites in urine. And right now I'm working on a new device for treating sleep apnea here at Texas Medical Center. So I know there are a lot of prototyping capabilities, a lot of manufacturing capabilities, a lot of engineers, technicians that Texas and the United States can take advantage of. So I really think that there's a huge opportunity for synergies between both the states. Hi.
Perfect. We're going to get to hear from you next week, I believe, a little bit
I'm
more.
having troubles hearing you. Let me just.
How about now? Jello, give me a sound check.
Yep, I hear you.
Got it. Oh, I tell you what, we'll message to Carlos that we'll hear a little bit more from him this next week when we have him on. There's a question in the chat from Adrian that says, interesting panel on topic. Question for Kevin and Tech Branch. We have a tech scalable company operating in Mexico, headquarters in Chihuahua. We now want to open operations in the US. We see Austin as a viable option to start with, so we want to understand the better expertise in the market. Does Tech Ranch be an accelerator or advisor for us? To answer that question, part of what we're exploring together is how to build a venture bridge that does support early stage technology entrepreneurs, supports small to medium enterprises, helps drive foreign direct investment into the state of Chihuahua, as well as helping on the talent development. You know, it's not all our company that does that. Our company articulates the network, then it makes it possible to do those connections, right? And so we're not going to try to, say that we do all those things, but we do think that we know how to connect in. So that answers that question, I believe. And then I think Julie mentioned, and let me make sure I put this on to the more general area, that if you have a question about it, you can always send, well, a lot of you are going to send me emails. The easiest way to get onto our radar is to go to techranch.com/contact us and submit to us an overview of your startup. And you're from the state of Chihuahua, make sure that you say Chihuahua in there, because we're going to invite you into a special area for Chihuahuan entrepreneurs or even Chihuahuan businesses. There's like I talked to yesterday a much larger organization that said, hey, we're way beyond the early stage. And could you help us innovate? And so we'll have companies like that as well. That it's like they're in one place and they want to innovate to a new place. And we'll get you connected in. Same thing about supply chain. Some of the companies here that are looking for supply chain,
Yes.
will be connecting in as well. Thank you for the question, Adrian. I appreciate it. Other questions or other things you'd like to say?
Just, I would like to mention 3 things that I believe are important, just to complement that we already mentioned, Fernando and the secretary. For example, in order to make that disconnection be effectively business opportunities, we are developing new instruments for those bottlenecks that we identified for that business opportunity. For example, we are developing a new instrument for financing, for example, local companies to incorporate effectively to those value chains that we already have in the state, and those ones that we want to attract to our state. Other things that are actually working, for example, for the entrepreneurial ecosystem, is we just developing a innovation, science and technology fund in order to support those companies to innovate, not only be part of the business that already is taking place in our state, but to innovate and disrupt and identify these cross-sectoral opportunities. And also, for example, another major initiative is, for example, we have a high-tech center, call it Spark. That is like an April for startups and entrepreneurs for landing and takeoff businesses in Chihuahua and the world. So that is some things that we are facilitating instrument in order to guarantee that not only are bringing new operations and creating businesses, but that the local entrepreneurs and the startups have the better condition possible to integrate those opportunities, or even though identify another business area that could be the next step for Chihuahua right now.
So collaborative spaces where they can meet other entrepreneurs, other startups, and have a major company there as a.
To create what we call the water cooler effect, where people just sort of run into each other. How does someone, if either one of the entrepreneurs here locally, or if one of the entrepreneurs sees this some other part of the world, how do they plug into that? What would you like? What next step would you like one of these entrepreneurs that might be listening in, or perhaps a corporation that's listening in from Texas or some other part of the world that wants to plug into that? What actions should they take?
For example, the first, this fund is just we are developing. We expect that in August we'll be able to announce the different programs that we can and we will share to the community. For example, a major ally for that is Chihuahua Futura and Startup Chihuahua for Tech Monterrey. Is a startup community in the capital city. So any data we will share it as soon as we have more detail.
Yeah, so startupchihuahua.com, if I remember the right.
Yeah, that's right.
And
also we can check our social networks and also our website to have more data and information about it.
Can we share
certainly.
social media with your audience?
Yes,
maybe
please.
through you, we give you the information, because it's important to know one place that you can go and find everything about it, you know, and find.
Well, what we will do is Jello and my team will take whatever information we want to do, and on the show notes on YouTube and also on the show notes inside of our community area, there will be a place that typically the public ones on the YouTube, might have fewer details, where you might want to have someone who even more qualified on the other ones, like in the area. But we can put that information in both. And it'd be great to just have it. And obviously, this is part of what we'll be doing is I learn more. Like I will be at one of the universities later today. I'll be at Tech de Monterrey de Chihuahua. Later today, we're doing a bunch of life science startups as well as other startups that will be sharing about that. We're also going to publish some of the activities from a report that comes from MIT REAP, REAP, which the state of Chihuahua has been doing for the last, couple of years, I think it is.
1 year.
A year.
Yeah, 1 year. And so it's quite impressive about the data that they've pulled together about the state, about how to plug into the state. I'm going to become an expert at that information because part of our role is to help people just connect in, right? Connect in. It's like discover talent, develop talent, connect talent to opportunity and help it scale. When I say talent in this case, I'm talking about business in general, not just people looking for jobs, but business in general. So we'll make that a point in our subsequent times. And as a reminder, at the beginning of this broadcast, I said that on the 11th, next Thursday, at 11 o'clock Texas time, we will go ahead and we'll publish once again. We're going to hear from a handful of the entrepreneurs that I met here. One of the entrepreneurs we're going to hear from next week has a company called Biosense that has prosthetic arms, and it's crazy. They can train the prosthetic arm, that robotic arm, in seconds to attaching it to a person. I saw a video yesterday of this young, I think 4-year-old that had lost his arm, that they attached, and within a few seconds, I mean minutes for certain, the kid knew how to use it. And here's this robotic arm attached to a child that's lost his arm. It was heartwarming, and it was amazing the type of talent that's here. Like this is not just a manufacturing talent. This is like breakaway. Yeah, please.
Yeah, one of the things that I will conclude by saying is the way you begin with your presentation today, saying that Chihuahua is the land of opportunity. And I guess that's a trademark that we already have, that we already use. And this is the way we do in our presentations. Chihuahua is the land of opportunity, but we want to present Chihuahua a land of opportunity, not just for the industry, but also for the entrepreneurs, for the students, for the people that have ideas, that want to, let's say, that want to come to realize, to create, right? So the secretary has, or the TD has, let's say, a whole set of tools to support, let's say, entrepreneurs, technical training, industry, SMEs. So, for example, I guess I will mention something that our organization is called FIDAPECH, which is the financing arm of the secretary that have almost like between 6 and 7 different types of credits for different sets of companies, MIPIMES, right? The one you know. So
Very
this
low
is one.
interest.
Yeah. So we already mentioned Senatec, INADET. We have also the Energy State Agency, which is a little bit simpler than development agency. But I guess Ulises and the secretary can add some more, let's say, capabilities that we have as a government to support the things that we are doing. So, I mean, and I mentioned this because what we are trying to achieve is not just, let's say, it's a good idea or it's something that we want to pursue, but really we have a whole set of tools that could, let's say, support the different either innovation or industry that we can support either companies or local startups that want to grow.
And we constantly discuss this and agree this with students, with the productive sector, asking what their needs are. What do you need? How
can we help you?
Yeah, how can we help you?
It's always hearing from them.
Yeah.
So I mean, from my perspective, everything starts with understanding what a company needs and a startup needs, because each one is different.
Right.
So the first thing is to really hear from them what they need. How can we help you? And then from there we can start process, as Ulises mentioned before, using these different tools of how to support them. So I mean, this is something that we'll live day by day.
And so part of what we'll do is on the show notes, we'll make it a space that if you have questions for following up, we're going to publish as much of this as we can collect and then quickly get out there. Typically that happens. A part of it will happen later today, and then we'll publish again if there's more information you guys send, so that's a natural connect point to have this conversation. The other thing we'll do is we're going to have these guys back on. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff to connect with here, and this is like the first, or the first next step. It's not the first step in Chihuahua for me or Tech Branch, but it's the first next step. As part of, we actually explore this relationship with each other and tease out how to plug different things in, how to create, the medical entrepreneur based out of Austin into the industry here, and how to help entrepreneurs that are here gain access to other places. as well as in supporting the industry. The industry is really strong here. And like we said earlier, how can we actually make sure that those cross products open up and create opportunity for everybody? So any final words you'd like to share before we start closing for the day?
We appreciate the time you all are giving us to talk about Chihuahua. Don't miss the opportunity to come. Don't miss the opportunity to let us know what you think, what more information we can provide. And it's really an honor to be here and looking forward to what is coming with Tech Ranch, between Tech Ranch and Chihuahua, between Austin and Chihuahua, and just keep growing together.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you.
No,
Thank you so much.
it's my honor as well, and on the behalf of the Tech Ranch team as well. Part that's in Texas, part that's in the Philippines, parts that's in Mexico. We're honored to be a part of this conversation with you, because it's you can feel, just like in the meetings last night and the last few days, you can just feel that things are sparking, right?
And there's nothing like being here,
Yeah.
or being in Austin. So please make sure that we gather a group of people and invite you to Chihuahua and really feel what is going on here.
Yeah, well, I'll preview this really quick. We are going to be setting up some opportunities for entrepreneurs that in Austin, whether you come for or business people in general, whether you come for a short period of time or you come for an extended stay here to plug in. We're going to take advantage of some of the opportunities to plug in, to actually stick around, so that we can have whether it's at the student or what we call fellow level, like the fellow level, kind of like a more than just an internship. We'll actually make that happen to help do this transfer. If you're interested, the main thing is to let my team know, and not just to send me an email, but I'll give you a URL at the end of the presentation that goes into that, so we can do that.
I would like to mention that, it's really kind of funny to me that you and I have been working on this relationship for almost 4 years now.
Yes.
We explore all opportunities to strengthen the relation between Austin and Chihuahua. And there were a lot of dead ends that never, let's say, came to fruition. So for a reason, right now, I'm part of government. Hopefully for me, my boss and Ulises, we share, let's say, the same commitment to innovation, to explore new opportunities, and finally we have, as María was saying, we have a more structured process, let's say, in place to strengthen the relationship between Austin and Chihuahua. So I cannot, let's say, I'm really happy that this is happening right now. This is just the beginning, as you say. We'll eventually come up with some solutions and new ideas of how can, let's say, develop the relationship. But from my perspective, thank you for being so patient with us and being working with us for so many time. Right now we are there.
Yeah, as a visionary myself, speaking to another visionary that invested the time, these type of relationships, this is what changes the world, right? This is the bridge that starts shifting things, that creates opportunity for all. So yeah, right back at you, Fernando. It's been my honor to be in the conversations with you, and we were talking 4 years ago about this big grant. It didn't work out, but it planted the seeds for these type of interactions.
So these are happening.
And I think we're already seeing results from even the last few days about people being connected in, but there will be a lot more activity.
Yes.
If you're interested in following on to this, look at the show notes. Make sure that you let us know your questions. We'll make sure that we find out the right way to connect to the undersecretaries as well as Madam Secretary as well. And we'll have delegations. If you're in Chihuahua and you want to be a part of the delegation that goes to Austin, we will have times that you can land in Austin, come up, and we'll be doing kind of a similar type of exposure opportunity. We call it, you have market exposure, then you have market exploration, and then you have market entry. And we have structured ways of doing that. We want to make sure that those points are accessible to Chihuahua entrepreneurs and business people, and that will be coming soon. So, well, with that, let me do this. I'm going to switch back over. I know that there's a couple of other things that are happening. I saw a bunch of chats in the last little bit. I'm sorry I didn't get all of that please bring the conversation. Please bring the conversation over to the community site. If you're not in the community site, there's no payment that's required to be part of the community. We do have other programs, especially if you're already in the state of Chihuahua, you should just let us know that you're interested in taking the next step, because that's part of our exploration process. If you're not in the state of Chihuahua and you're interested, make sure you fill out the contact us form, and we'll send you in kind of some special other areas. But the business people that are in the state of Chihuahua, there's some specific access that we'll invite you into to go from there. And reminder as well, let me just go ahead and bring this back up. Always have to remember which button to push, otherwise my assistant gives me a hard time. Okay, so we made a special arrangement so that a lot of times the easiest way to kind of get positioned is to have a phone number. So if you're on WhatsApp or on just a regular phone, you can use this phone number to ask us questions. Now, we're not going to necessarily be answering every one, but we will follow up with you. Make sure that if you call, send us, give us a full message so that we can actually take action and following up with you. That number is +1 737 283 6978. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to direct you to places into the community where we can ramp things up and stuff like that. But that is another place you can take a next step to. There are a lot of other places to plug into Tech Ranch. Because there's so many, we just went ahead and set up a URL, techranch.com/connect. There's everything from, if you would like to be a part of, if you have scar tissue to donate to other entrepreneurs, there's a place to sign up as a mentor. We have a whole mentor program. We have a country manager program. We have a newsletter that you should sign up to if you want to find out more. Make sure that you're on a newsletter, because a lot of times we don't send individual messages to people. We need to use the tactics of blasting things out. There's also a place to sign up into the community at this URL as well. So please take advantage of it. And with that, I would like to just take this to a wrap and say thank you all so very much for this opportunity. It's really exciting. From the seeds that got planted with a few conversations, years ago, and that we made it through COVID all together in one piece. Thank you all for the investment, Madam Secretary, and also Monkey. Thank you very much. Both I'm really looking forward to spending another couple of days in Chihuahua to experience this place, because you have a very special place. So thank you to Ulises and Fernando as well. And to all the entrepreneurs out there that are driven by vision and values, let's go change the world for the better together. Y'all take care. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.